So look, I'll do a history of me in real 30 seconds, usually give it a little bit more long drawn out history. Chris, I'll probably tick off all these boxes of all the mistakes. This is going to be a blinding presentation of how not to do stuff. My short history of me is basically I spent the first 8 years of my career in the adult industry, spamming, doing porn, building websites, doing advertising networks globally. It's thrilling, it's exciting, it's one of the creative, most innovative industries, bar none, in my opinion. But since then, the last 8 years, I've worked for British Gas, BT, Virgin Atlantic, Adidas, and doing it all the legal nice ways. But predominantly, I've been working for SMEs and teaching people, just like you guys, how to market yourself and understand the internet when you've got no money at all. So, yeah, this is Yodelay. I did the agency thing, and then I set up Yodelay, which is a social enterprise. And I had this idea for this app. And the concept, basically, what we want to try and develop is software that actually helps businesses understand cause and effect. What they do online is actually getting them to the top of Google, driving them traffic, make them more influential in search engines, and basically becoming a thought leader. And this app is like our first break into the market to do just that. Basically, it's an iPhone app that monitors where you rank in Google, and you add to it and it can pull in automatically anything you do online, like a blog, like a press release, some social marketing, run a competition in Facebook, and it just puts everything on a graph, on a timeline, and then it shows you, today I did this, today I did that, okay? So you can see quite literally cause and effect of what you're doing online and what's having what effect. Anybody using this app, we pull it in into the cloud, and we then basically share your data anonymously with the community. So we can see on a massive, it's like distributed computing, how effective is a competition for the financial fashion industry. A competition in Facebook is probably going to make them more influential, whereas a press release is probably better for the finance industry at certain times of the year. So that's the power of a very simple app. But the story of making a very simple app is a hell of a lot longer than that. So we're going to jump in to version 1. Hello, India. We thought we'd outsource it. We didn't have any budget, and therefore we thought, basically, if I wrote down exactly everything I'm going to need it to do, I'm just going to pump it out to India, because I've worked with loads of Indians before. I thought, they're going to get the job done. And I was going to pull it back to the UK when it's about 80% complete, and we get it done in-house properly and shine off all the edges. Great guys in India, nothing wrong with them, a really good company. But, you know, there was a language barrier. It's real difficult trying to explain what you want when you've got the creative mind and your head's doing all this, and you're trying to get some developers they've got their own sort of mindset, plus you add to that a language barrier and your own cultural barriers, not just about being white British and you know, brown Indian. It's about people not actually being in the office or in the same room. So here was the first wonderful version of our app, which looked absolutely minging, and you may laugh at it because it was totally awful. And we got it back, and yeah. So what did I learn? I learned things like, if you're going to deal with India, you detail it. It's called a technical specification. If you're going to plan out any bit of software, you can do a functional specification, which says, I want a button that does this, and a button that does that, and a button that does that. Nice. If you're going to knock it out to India, you need to do a technical specification which says, this is how you're going to make the button. And you don't give them any way of having been innovative or creative at all. Give them no leeway, and you whip them, and you whip them hard. Sorry, but that's the truth. You've got to micromanage the project. Every single day you've got to be checking in with them. And basically you need to have a deadline. It says headline, it should say deadline. I was probably thinking of cutting up someone's head, but I don't know, to bring it back in-house. And if you think India is a cheap option, think again. You're going to spend more time correcting the mistakes if you don't do the technical specification when you do bring it back. Which is, by the way, this project should have taken 3 to 4 months, and the whole thing ended up taking 2 years. We don't have any money. We are a digital marketing consultancy. We do SEO, build websites, do all of that, and we make our money and fund this project through what we do with helping clients online. So, yeah, pretty much grassroots startup. So I then got my developer. Anyone who knows UEA, knows internships, use them. Brilliant geniuses that come out of these. Jack, right, okay, here's another moody guy. That's not Jack, but he looks a lot like Jack. Jack, all right, was very professional. He straight away highlighted the issues in the code. He said he would rebuild the whole thing. I said, no, Jack, you're not going to rebuild it. You're just going to make it work, and we're going to go live because we've got a product to go live, and I've got no more money. Basically, 6 months later, we had this bad feeling in the gut. We tried to go live with it. We tried to give this app to digital-minded people, other friends of ours in the digital industry. And we knew how it worked, and we thought, well, fine, you use it. And they couldn't use it. They didn't know how to use it. So we started to learn lessons about usability. You cannot predict how somebody will use your bit of software until you put it in front of them, and you're screaming at them, just click the button, and they don't know what they're doing, right? It's really hard to make an intuitive app. It's really easy to make a really complicated one. So some of the lessons, after Jack, I've got him. This is what the second version of our app looked like, with Jack refining and shining all the edges. But my gut feeling, there was these problems that were popping up left, right, and center. Like a bug over here would happen, we'd fix it, and then a bug over here would appear. I mean, how the hell are those two related? But that was the problem. There was something fundamentally wrong with the app, but it looked the part, and it was a hell of a lot easier to use. But not quite. And that's the other thing, don't be a complete geek. Don't believe people know how to use things. It was a bit nerdy. It was still a bit difficult to use. Usability is everything, and endless bug fixing is very demoralizing for developers. Trust me on this. Has anyone seen the film Spinal Tap? Yeah? You see now that drummer keeps exploding, and then one gets hit by a satellite and the other one spontaneously combusts. That's what we went through, developers like that. They just kept blowing up. Bless him, Jack. I mean, he kind of had enough, and his heart wasn't in it. He wasn't passionate really throughout the whole thing, but he was a top bloke, and we loved him up to bits. But he went off traveling. I just burned him out. So here enters version 3 and developer number 3. And it's Daniel. I wish he was here tonight. He's with me now. We had no money at all, completely run out. I'd lost focus on my core business, which was basically helping companies building websites, doing SEO, pay-per-click, marketing campaigns for people, just bringing in the business to fund the project. I had taken my eye off of the core business, the bread and butter, and we were suffering. We were really suffering. Daniel then comes up with this genius line. He says, does it have to look like this? I could rebuild it. And I could have punched him. Well, I did not punch him. We rebuilt. I went with a gut feeling. I went, sod it. I'm going to rebuild it. And the thing here, I just learned the lesson to pull the plug, even as bad as it was. Learn the lesson that you cannot polish a turd. Have the guts to kill a project. Keep focused on your core business if you're doing things like in the grassroots way like we are. And the biggest lesson was employ people with passion. That was the biggest lesson. When you employ someone with passion, when I said this was a 3 to 4 month project, Daniel knocked it out in about 6 weeks. The whole thing, a complete rebuild. And I'd spent the previous 2 years, or nearly 2 years. Right? I could have cried, I could have punched him again, but I didn't. Guy's a genius. So, the future development, where we're taking it, and Chris was right again, know when to go live. We cut the project there. It does a very simple thing of tracking your rankings in Google. We were planning all of this, but this is all going into a second app now, so I won't really go with it, but it will connect up with Evernote, it connects up with your YouTube. We're now doing that one. We've got that one cracked today. The Panda and Penguin updates, we can keep people up to date with that. These are what Google, whenever you hear Panda and Penguin, whenever Google says one of its updates is this nice fluffy animal, you know you're in trouble. That's Panda and Penguin for you. All sorts, we're bringing humanitarian causes. But we ain't going to do that by hiring and building up a company full of loads of people. It's through going this painful process of building software that helps businesses, and it is painful. And I think Chris highlighted a load of the issues. So if I was going to go over them again, know when you're wrong. I think Tim O'Shea said this, there's some fans of Tim O'Shea, succeed fast, fail faster. Know when to ditch a project and actually go with your gut feeling. And lastly, employ people with passion. I think that's it. Thank you very much.